Comic creators, your new crowdfunding launch sidekick is here. The Comic Book Crowdfunding Planner from ComixLaunch is your ultimate step-by-step companion to planning, optimizing, and executing your crowdfunding campaign, helping hardworking creators stay organized, execute with confidence, and maximize success on every launch.
Hey, I'm Tyler James, publisher of Comics Tribe and host of the ComixLaunch podcast,
which has been helping comic creators launch successful crowdfunding campaigns for nearly a decade. In that time, I've seen the same struggles come up again and again. Making a great comic, but no idea where to start with crowdfunding it, overwhelm at all the steps to launch and fear of missing something important, exhaustion during the campaign, and struggling with the emotional roller coaster of launching.
and finishing the campaign and still being unsure what worked, what didn't, and how to get better results the next time. If any of those challenges sound familiar,
you are not alone, and it's not your fault. Crowdfunding a comic requires a completely different skill set than making one. The good news is I have something that can help. To celebrate the 10th anniversary of ComixLaunch, I've distilled years of my own crowdfunding experience and the insights of hundreds of amazing guests I've had on the show into one essential tool. This new comic book crowdfunding planner is really 4 powerful books in one, designed to help during every phase of your launch. First, it's a launch planner, providing a step-by-step roadmap including guided templates and battle-tested ComixLaunch exercises to build a winning campaign. Second, it's an execution checklist, including action items and pro tips for every aspect of your project so you can launch with confidence. Third, it's a daily campaign journal with dedicated pages to track your campaign progress each day of your launch, prioritize your daily promotional activities, and stay in command of your project. And fourth, it's a post-launch debrief with a proven post-mortem process to capture what worked, what didn't, and what you'll improve on so that your next launch is even better. The Comic Book Crowdfunding Planner is perfect for first-time Kickstarter creators who want a clear roadmap from start to funded.
When it comes to running a Kickstarter, I never thought I could do it until I started using Tyler's tools and tips and tricks.
I have raised over $40,000 US. Everything I have launched has been done using the ComixLaunch tools. It's been the backbone of my success as a creator.
Experienced crowdfunders who want to refine and optimize their launch processes and get to that next level of funding success.
I've raised over $30,000 on Kickstarter. I wouldn't have been able to accomplish this without ComixLaunch. Tyler's guides have made it an effortless and stress-free process.
Tailor-made specifically for comic book creators, writers, artists, and publishers looking to streamline their campaigns and optimize their crowdfunding efforts.
The ability to break down the daunting task of running a Kickstarter into small, well-defined, achievable tasks gave me the confidence to finally launch a campaign.
I really needed an instruction manual, and that is exactly what Tyler gave me.
Perfect for anyone who has struggled with crowdfunding overwhelm and could use a physical tool to help focus before, during, and after your launch.
The timing of finding Tyler and his work was perfect for me because I didn't know what I was doing.
What helped me was getting access to all of the tools that Tyler puts together.
6 campaigns raised about almost $27,000, and I can honestly say I wouldn't have had anywhere near the success without ComixLaunch.
The tools included in Tyler James' planner were essential to getting the ball rolling for me.
Everything I know about running Kickstarters I learned from ComixLaunch.
Finally, it's for all the thousands of ComixLaunch listeners who have been asking for a resource like this for nearly a decade. For rewards, the new planner is available in a number of formats. A beautiful physical planner with a durable faux leather cover, digital PDF version with ready-to-print pages, and discounted multi-pack bundles for creators and publishers with many project launches on the horizon. All backers will be thanked by name on the ComixLaunch podcast, and there's limited show sponsorship opportunities available. I'm also opening my schedule for a few one-on-one crowdfunding coaching and mentorship opportunities, and you can also get access to some of the ComixLaunch Pro courses during this campaign.
Let's make your next launch the best one ever.
Back the Comic Book Crowdfunding Planner today, and I can't wait to see what you launch next.
Prepare to launch in 3, 2, 1.
All right, Hello, everybody. Tyler James from ComixLaunch here, and we're doing another daily live stream today. Today, I'm going to be joined, and I have them backstage, a couple of great creators, Kevin Joseph and Michael C. Watson are backstage with us. Kevin and Michael. We're going to be bringing these guys on in just a little bit, but before we do that, just to set the context for what we're rocking today, again, I'll be welcoming everyone to the stream. Be giving a quick shout out to those that are supporting the current comic book Kickstarter planner launch that is live and running and soon to be wrapping up our early backer phase. I'm going to say some thank yous to some backers. I'm going to give a daily launch lesson, and then I'm going to use that daily launch lesson to transition us into a conversation with the creators that we have joining us today. And so the bulk of this will be a stream with Kevin and Michael, but I'm going to get us rocking and rolling with a little bit of just preamble here. As I mentioned, right now we are in the midst of a pretty awesome launch right now, if I do say so myself, for the new comic book crowdfunding planner. This is a planner and a project that I've been thinking about doing for for a long time now, but I'm glad that it's finally getting out into the world. This is kind of the best of and the tools that I use for each and every launch that help me plan, help me stay organized before, during, and after I launch a Kickstarter. We're just about one backer away from 340 backers, raised over $12,000 now. And one thing, I absolutely love about Kickstarter, I was telling Kev in the preamble that I was sort of out of commission for the last 2 days doing my my first colonoscopy. I'm sort of at that age, right? But the prep on Sunday and then yesterday getting completely knocked out for that and coming back. But Kickstarter is a platform where you can be literally out of commission and it's still a platform where funding can come in, you can make sales, you can reach backers and hopefully change some creators' trajectories. So I'm excited to just be here now into our second week. This is a time when the early backer pricing is ending tonight at midnight. So if you're trying to jump in and want to save a buck or two, please jump in and join there. To that end, I want to just send some shout outs to and thank some of the backers these are backers that came out right on day one. We're still working through our day one backer list, but I want to thank backers by name. David Chaucer LaForest, ComixLaunch Pro member. Thank you for supporting David. Sean Hainsworth, Kevin Meyer Designs, Sarah Landauer, Jeremiah Espinoza, Alan Forbes II, Crossfire Comics. Thank you, Crossfire. Will Allred, Kevin knows well, podcast collaborator that Kevin's worked with. He's also a longtime ComixLaunch Pro member. Shout out to Will. Patrick Coyle, David Lucarelli, another ComixLaunch Pro members. Paul, Madeline Holly Rosing, prolific creator, Boston Metaphysical. Shout out Madeline. Liar Cohen, thank you, Liar. Robin Dasson, Adam Feiner, Nicole Lechner, Kristen Simon, Tony Cage. Shout out Tony. Tony's a retailer and a comic book crowdfunder. Mary J. Puppo, thank you, Mary, for your support. MJ Massey, MJ's featured in our testimonial videos. Shout out to MJ for that great testimonial. Missy, Nate Streeper, Patrick Lugo, Ryan Claytor, shout out Ryan, Arthur N. Ebuin from Studio 12-7, Everett Taylor, CEO of Kickstarter. Shout out and big thanks to Everett for the support. It's always cool to have the head honcho over at Kickstarter backing a project. That means a lot. Apollo City Comics and Keith Carmona. So that takes us through backer number 100. I'll be sharing and thanking more backers each and every day of this campaign. All right. I want to get into today's tip of the day. We'll do a tip of the day, then we'll bring on our awesome guests to discuss this tip along with their projects and everything else. But Today's tip of the day for comic book creators, for crowdfunders, for anyone that wants to leverage the power of crowdfunding to bring their dream projects to life is to always play the crowdfunding game on the right difficulty level. Now, you might be thinking like, crowdfunding game? This isn't a game. This is real life, Tyler. This is serious stuff. But I've often found that it actually helps to think of your launches as games, like, right? There's a lot of things that launching on Kickstarter have in common with games. There are a limited number of rule set. There are strategies. There are tactics. It can be a lot of fun. It can also be devastating. I've got a 7-year-old at home, and if you don't think it is devastating when your dad beats you at Sorry, you obviously don't have a 7-year-old at home, because it can send him into a tailspin. But I've found that when you treat your crowdfunding launches as if they're a game, and take the approach that I got to make sure that I'm playing the right game for where I'm at right now in my career, and and with the project that I'm bringing to the table and the audience that I currently have, that's the best way to make sure that you're going to have a successful outcome from that game. And so a few things to just keep in mind is that first, your funding goal should not be what you think of is the absolute finish line, but rather treat your funding goals like your first big campaign milestone. We see a lot of creators that launch, and then they're launching and they know that they're trying to fund within the first couple of minutes or hours or days of their launch. When they do that, they kind of know that the funding goal that they're asking for isn't the max that they could possibly do, or even everything that they know they need to have in order to do everything that they dreamed of doing. Usually they treat it as the first big campaign milestone. And I think that's an approach to take. And the reason for that is, especially when we're talking about crowdfunding on the Kickstarter platform, which is the market leader, Kickstarter is an all or nothing platform. If you don't hit your goal, you get nothing but the lessons learned from launching. Now, that's not nothing. And many creators have launched projects on Kickstarter, not hit the goal, but learned something from it that would go on to mean that they would be more successful down the line. But if what you're trying to do here is actually move the needle forward and to get funded so that you can get some funding to come in and start putting that towards your project, that means your target needs to be achievable with the audience that you can realistically activate. We talked in a previous tip about how the crowd always needs to come before the funding, and part of setting a game or playing a game that you can win is by making sure that whatever goal you ask for, it's in alignment with where you're at in your creative career. The other thing to keep in mind is that, comparison to what other projects are doing on Kickstarter can be a trap. It's very easy to look around on the Kickstarter platform and you can find some projects that maybe don't look as good as yours, or maybe don't have as famous an artist as the one that you're using, or their covers aren't as good, or the genre that they're in isn't as big a genre, or you don't particularly think that their hook is great, but you see that they actually have a big following and they're getting a lot of support on Kickstarter. And you might just assume, well, if they can do this, then obviously my superior project is going to do much, much better. When in reality, on Kickstarter, you're only sort of seeing the tip of the iceberg. You don't know the audience building efforts that creator has been undergoing. You're not entirely certain about what their track record of success and delivering and being able to work in as a professional has been over the years. And so just seeing other projects that look similar to yours and using that as a justification for what you should ask for it definitely is not the best way to go about it. Also, the important thing that I've found that helps whenever I'm trying to work with a creator on setting a realistic goal for their launches is to know their own metrics, so the audience that they're bringing out, but then also knowing Kickstarter's metrics. And so when I say play the game on the right difficulty level setting, there's different difficulty level settings that you can imagine. I call out the easy mode on Kickstarter, which is about 11% of projects in the comics category. They end up raising less than $1,000. That's sort of the definition of playing on easy mode. And an example of a project that just launched that's kind of playing on easy mode right now is Jack Holder. Jack is actually a veteran creator. He's got 19 launches under his belt. This is the first time he's doing a dedicated launch just for a enamel pin set of related to his IP, Legends of the Realms. And so not knowing exactly what this kind of launch would do for him, he's decided to play the game on easy mode, $250 goal. And as a result, he said, hey, this is the fastest I've funded a campaign since 2017. I think he was funded in a few minutes, just after going live. All right. But when you're playing on the easy mode, like that might make the right, that might be the right call for you. One, if you've never done this before, or two, if you have some success on the platform, but you're trying something completely new. In the comics category, the most of the projects, over 60% of the projects fall in the range between $1,000 and $9,999. So it's important to sort of know that this is sort of like the sweet spot for comics on Kickstarter, and the vast majority of the creators are going to play in that range and that setting. If you're trying to level up, know that playing the game, the Kickstarter game on hard mode, is going for a 5-figure campaign. Less than 26% of all comic projects that launch ever raise 5 figures or more. And so if you set your goal at above $10,000, know that, hey, I'm playing this on hard mode. I'm basically saying my project is going to be a top 25% project. An example of one such project that is live now, and we'll talk to him in just a bit, is Kevin Joseph's latest launch for Tart Volume 4. Kevin set a $13,500 goal, and when you do that, Kevin's basically saying, "Yep, you know what? I'm playing this game on what I know to be a harder difficulty level setting, so that I can bring a glorious collection together." But as we'll find with his 19 projects under his belt, Kevin's earned the right to play this game on hard mode. He has a lot of backers that have already been delighted with the stuff that he's delivered. And he has campaigns that have raised more than his project goal in the past. So that's something that can give him confidence in order to go out there and play the game on hard mode. And then I also, the very hard mode, most comic projects, like only about 12% of comic projects ever raise more than $20,000. An example of a hard mode project or of a project that was in that range was the latest Sync City of Killers launch that wrapped up, and I just got notice these books will be coming along very shortly. They should be hitting the US by the end of the month. But a lot of times projects that raise over $20,000 usually are for bigger collections, maybe hardcovers. They might involve other like specialized merch. We did a plushies along with this one to help us hit, over 30K in funding. And so know that these are definitely bigger projects that end up posting numbers in the very hard mode. And then finally, it's important for us to recognize that only 1.8% of comic projects ever raise over 6 figures. So if you were someone that was going to go out there and say, you know what, I'm going to I'm going to raise $100,000 and that's your goal, or that's what you're thinking of. Know that these are usually established IPs and will likely require the support of many hundreds, if not thousands, of backers. And an example of a project like this is actually now the all-time most funded comic book project ever, which just wrapped for a big Transformers compendium set. And notice, $4.6 million, amazing, awesome. But also note that this was done by Skybound, one of the biggest publishers going in comics right now. It's on an IP that is one of the most known and recognizable IPs ever. And it's a massive project, 4 huge volumes sets. So big expenses associated with this one as well. And also note that even though the goal was they ended up raising $4.6 million, they actually did not ask anywhere near that. They went for a $40,000 goal. So they weren't even playing the game on expert level. They were playing it on very hard. That did not stop them from hitting an expert level launch, though. So in short, the goal here is to make sure that you play the game on the right level. The ComixLaunch comic book crowdfunding planner has a couple of tools inside to make sure that you do that. There is this sort of reference guide that helps you level set to make sure that you are choosing the right difficulty level for where you're at. And there's some metrics related to what crowdfunding projects have done historically to help keep you guided there. And then there's also some budgeting tools in there that'll help you play the game on the right level. And if you do happen to hit your goal, or if you're struggling to hit your goal, we have some of the things that we like to teach inside of ComixLaunch Pro: the milestone bonus strategy, the stretch goal strategy, with some tips along for each of those to help you plan out ways to break down the road to funded. Or if you do happen to hit your goal and you want to keep the funding going, stretch goal strategy is one of the best ways to do that. So there you have it. In summary, playing the crowdfunding game on the right difficulty level setting gives you the best shot at getting funded, building your skill set, and leveling up in the future. So make sure that you're taking a gamer approach to your crowdfunding launches. All right, in a second, I'm going to be bringing on my awesome guests. Appreciate their patience for joining me. But if you are interested in having a conversation and joining me for one of these daily live streams, just go to comixlaunch.com/invite. We'll find a time that works for you and a time that works for me, and we'll have you on to engage in some of these conversations. So without further ado, let's bring on Kevin and Michael. Kevin and Michael, thank you for being here. What I want to hope that we can do today is have a nice conversation. We've got a nice cross section of creators, and Kevin is a veteran creator, and I know Michael, you're working on one of your early first launches. So I'm excited to just dive in and tackle things from some different perspectives. Kevin, why don't you start by and Kevin Joseph is the creator of Tart. He's been on the ComixLaunch podcast in the past. We've had some great conversations as well. But for those that are unfamiliar with Tart, or maybe it's been a while, remind us why we all love Tart and what it's all about.
Well, Tart Acid is a time-traveling demon hunter who wakes up at the beginning of each adventure without any idea where she is in the world, and just as importantly, when in time she is. She just knows there's a demon causing trouble, and it's up to her to stop it.
And this is one of the sort of longest running, I believe, one of the longest running ongoing sort of Kickstarter series. I can remember, I think it was like a ComixLaunch mastermind session or whatever, where like one of the things that you dedicated was like, all right, I got to map this entire series out and get it down. But you're definitely continuing to push through and to execute on us. But one of the challenges of ongoing series is finding breaking up points. and keeping the urgency of supporting projects and finding hooks for each individual volume. This one is titled Perspective Shift. What can you tell us about what this particular volume's focus is?
Well, I always wanted Tart to be a story that had a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I thought of it kind of as childhood, teenage years, and adulthood. And Perspective Shift is the angsty teenage years where Tart realizes that maybe mommy and daddy don't know as much as mommy and daddy think they know. So we're kind of putting her through the ringer in this situation. And the perspective shift we're talking about is kind of that growing up from a kid who just wants to make mommy and daddy happy because he or she does the right thing, to taking some more responsibility for themselves, even when maybe they're not quite ready for that responsibility and they might make a mistake or two.
Love it. Love it. Well, we'll talk more about Tart and launch lessons and everything, but I also want to get folks acquainted with Michael here. Michael,
how are you doing?
Welcome to Comics Launch for the first time. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to see you too, Tyler. Kevin, how are we doing?
Nice to meet you, Michael.
So
Okay.
you have
Glad to see you
you have what looks like your first launch for a series called The Legend of the Crusaders. What can you tell us about this book?
Yeah. Okay, it's my first launch under the screen name Back to Zero.
Okay.
Also name my company. So the premise for this series is you have an alternate Earth. You know, it has its own history. You know, you have George Lucas style technology, but you still also have magic. So one of the things you have in this world is man has colonized a good portion of the galaxy. And a soldier from one of these colony worlds called Elysium, he comes to Earth at the behest of his government to warn us that there's this big impending doom that will consume the galaxy. And he's given the mission to recruit and lead an army that will save all of us. The big catch is he's the only person from Elysium that could serve in this army. So that leaves him with the task of recruiting from pretty much everywhere else. And kind of behind the scenes, we have our bad guy. Can you scroll down a little bit again? Scroll. Keep going. Right there, no, back up, right there. Scroll up some more. Sorry.
Yeah,
this guy
shadowy.
This guy here in the shadows. Yeah. See, what this guy's doing is he's investing his resources to kind of, let's say, bring back a lost artifact from the galaxy's history, which would allow him to basically begin this whole galaxy-wide conquest.
Okay.
And as you can imagine, his goals tend to kind of be at cross purpose with our soldiers' goals, pretty much.
Yeah. And what, how did you come? So this is the first launch under this account. You've launched other, were the earlier issues launched on Kickstarter or?
Yes, I was attempting to launch issue 1 on Kickstarter. That campaign didn't go so well.
Okay.
So
go ahead.
In the time since, I've actually published issues 1 through 4 of Crusaders.
Okay.
So what we're dealing with now is to get funding for issue 5. It's supposed to be the cap off for this first story arc of this series.
Yeah. Cool. So, I mean, this will actually be a good, there's a good segue there to the concept that I brought up as our topic, because it looks like that for the first launch was an example of you maybe launching and playing the Kickstarter game on a difficulty level setting that was maybe outside of what was possible for you. So $12,000 goal for and trying to fund and launch the full series. I'm curious, like when you initially launched that, how did you sort of come up with that goal, and what did you learn sort of as a result of that?
Well, the funding goal was a reflection of what it's going to cost to hire the artists to do each leg of the journey, the pencil, ink, color, cover art, etc. What I learned was, at that point, I didn't have too much of an audience underneath of me. So in the years since then, I've been doing comic shows, doing signings at stores.
Yeah.
Opening Instagram and the Facebook dedicated to Back to Zero. So, so kind of
doing all that good stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, and so Kevin, when you are fast forward to Kevin's launching, who has a number of launches under your belt, but even then, setting that goal is still one of the biggest decisions that you're going to make during a Kickstarter campaign. What were you factoring in with your goal, and even as a veteran that's made Kickstarter work and Kickstarter supported this series over time, like what are the things that you're factoring in so that you make sure that you're right sizing the game that you're playing on Kickstarter?
Well, elephant in the room, we're all making our decisions with a lot of factors that keep changing left and right. And so we're all, I think we're all trying to do our best to figure out how we can do this until we have yes, this is what it's going to be for the next 3 years. Then we can all talk it. I wanted to make sure we got this volume out and got it hopefully into people's hands before it might cost an extraordinary amount of money to get it into the States. And so basically I created this. It's going to cost me $10,600 to get these books and $3,000 to ship them if this campaign is successful. So I set my campaign at that, the books and the shipping. And my theory is that I go back to what my buddy Juan from Creature Entertainment told me before I did my first Kickstarter. He said the worst thing a Kickstarter can be is a free advertisement for your comic that runs about a month. So my theory was, let's ask for basically exactly what it's going to cost, hopefully get it, hopefully get more. And the worst case scenario is we've run a month-long campaign. This exists. It's a great book. I have a reader copy I can show you. It's, gorgeous. But if I asked for $5,000, I'd still be about $7,000 on my credit cards in debt to deliver these books. So my theory was ask for what it costs. Hopefully we get more. And if we don't, we'll adjust, maybe come back to Kickstarter with a different mindset, with a little bit more advertising created, whatever the case may be. But it was just, I've hit about 17 to 19,000 on the first 2 hardcover campaigns. So I figured I could probably hit that with a book that was exactly the cost of Tart Volume 3, because we, kind of wanted to be.
Hello?
Did we lose Kevin?
I think we might have.
All right. I think Kevin froze up.
He's back.
Oh, he's back. Looks like Kevin froze up on us. Hopefully we will get him back in just a second. Yeah, so that's, what Kevin's really breaking down is something that a lot of creators will wrestle with, whereas and what is the worst case scenario, or and what is the best case scenario, and obviously what do we need in order to move things along. So I'm curious, when Kevin comes back on, we will try to find out a little bit more on that. But Michael, as you approached coming back to Kickstarter, what were some of the things that you thought about maybe changing up for your your relaunch now that the project is underway some?
Well, I thought maybe one thing I need a better variety and of rewards tiers. I think because initially all I had to offer backers were copies of the book. At the time was one issue, and artwork packages.
Yep.
So this time now we're able to offer them, you can pledge this amount, get issues 1 through 4. Pledge this amount, get issues 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I even went ahead and right now there's a special limited quantity. It should be on your screen. It should say Legends of Crusaders issue number 1 Chrome edition, which is basically a foil cover, foil embossed alternate cover.
Nice. Yep.
Yeah, and what I think is one of the biggest rewards I'm offering right now is the omnibus edition. Issues 1 through 5 offered in a one comprehensive volume.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah. And a T-shirt. There's a T-shirt in there.
T-shirt in there. Yeah, can't go wrong with a T-shirt. So your story reminds me a little bit of Rob Multari's, who's his first Kickstarter launch set a big ambitious goal for this series that he's been wanting to create his nearly his whole life. And just his first Kickstarter did not hit that goal. But he committed to going back and doing the self-funded route to get to prove that he was committed, and then sort of decided to come back to Kickstarter once he had more stuff underway. So what was your experience like saying, okay, let me just self-fund this thing, prove that I can make these books? What was the upside for you to do that, and what did that allow you to do over the past couple of years?
The upside was, it was a learning experience. It allowed me to get more eyes on the book.
Yep.
Learn how to sell, make contacts in the comic book world.
And I guess conventions was that a big place where you were selling them?
Yeah. The conventions were a big help.
Nice.
Yep.
Cool. Well, with this new Kickstarter launch, there's a couple of things that that I'm noticing about the Kickstarter, and there's just a few things that I'll share that might be able to help you optimize a little bit. Are you open to hearing just a few tips?
Yeah, always open.
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the things that you are that's an advantage for your project is this is an issue 5 launch, but you have, which means issues 1 and you're trying to raise funding to launch issue 5. That means you should have 4 issues of content available. The problem is, or the one thing that it seems like it's missing here that you can easily add is there's no sequential artwork for any of the book. So it's okay if, like, one of the things that I think a lot of creators get wrong is they think, well, I'm trying to fund the new issue and I don't have any pages yet for the new. If I don't have any pages yet on the new issue, I can't show any pages. When in reality, you can just show pages from earlier issues or the series, just so that people can get to a sense that where they can read a little bit, they can see the work that you've put into it. They know that this thing actually exists in a final form. And so I would strongly encourage you to jump in and add a bunch of pages from previous issues, and if you look at a lot of the Kickstarter projects that are funding, they might be posting 5, 10, even longer in some cases, pages of sequential pages, just so that people can say, okay, yeah, this is really a comic book project. It exists. And this person, knows what a comic looks like. And so rather than just having a couple of snippets from a few pages, I would let people read a little bit of your book right there on the Kickstarter. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yes.
Yeah. Another couple of things that Kickstarter has said that they like to see or don't like to see is when it comes to project image, Kickstarter likes a clean image that's not filled up with branding or other stuff. So they really don't want to see issue 5 of 5. They don't want to see your publisher logo. They don't even really want to see the name of the series. And including some of those items may reduce the chances that you're going to get pushed out into Kickstarter's newsletters. What they want to see is a nice, clean project image that pairs nicely with whatever your title is. And we got Kevin back. What's up, Kevin?
Okay, hey. All right, he's back.
Yeah, so we thought it was going to be the dog that Kevin's watching that was going to cause all the trouble, but it turns out it was just the internet connection.
Yeah, he's been fabulous. It's a little rainy down here for the first time in 4 months, so I do apologize, guys.
Yeah, not a problem at all. Just giving as this is you're still trying to get as Michael's trying to get his first successful launch under his belt, trying to give him a couple of tips on ways to maybe improve the Kickstarter campaign for The Legend of the Crusaders. We talked about the importance of sequential art on your Kickstarter page, and then the project image. How'd you go about selecting? Like, I think, or one of the things that I think Kevin has been able to do really well across many campaigns is picking solid project images. What's your approach, Kev, for project images that you found really work?
Well, I basically not 80% of the time it's the cover and put out there in the most imaginative way that we can put it together. But a few times we'll just kind of look into the comic, and I've got a co-creator, Ludovic Stelle, who is just a phenomenal artist who gives me very unique and dynamic images to choose from, and at that point it's just okay, what might be intriguing, what might be beautiful color wise, what might stick out in front of 12 other options. And you see that Tart laying back in the field of tulips, because this is a volume where I'm collecting 4 different quote unquote campaigns. I'm using the different headers throughout the thing. So I'm actually on my 2nd header for this campaign, and I'll probably go into my 3rd using that tulip image, because I don't know what someone who's never heard of me is going to be attracted to. So it's kind of like, what's dynamic, what's pretty, and what is going to stick out.
Yeah. And I definitely think that experimentation and having multiple options definitely helps. And also getting extra eyeballs on it. Obviously, working with talented artists that have an eye for this stuff definitely makes things easier for a lot of us. But as I mentioned to Michael, some of the things that Kickstarter has said that they don't necessarily want to see is gumming it up with a lot of copy, a lot of written copy, and so while taking elements of cover images, it often will be your best stuff. Finding good cropping can go a long way. And that might be your cover, that might be an interior page, or it might even be a page that you commission your artist to do specifically for this widescreen area, so that you're putting your best image forward. Another thing that I usually recommend, and I usually try to do, I know not everyone does, but instead of calling this The Legend of the Crusaders issue 5, Michael, I would recommend changing that title to The Legend of the Crusaders number 1 through 5. And the reason for that is because Legend of the Crusaders number 1 has never funded on Kickstarter. What I really want to do is call out for the reader that, hey, this is a jumping on point. And by leading with number 5, even if number 1 already exists in the world, but hey, this is the first opportunity in a long time that anyone has had the opportunity to jump on board this series from the very beginning with it and get issue 1. And so calling that out, I think, generally helps. Now, I know Kevin usually launches with the issue in mind, and that's probably one of the benefits of having a long-going series with a built-in audience. But
I definitely think I used that 1 through 7, and by the time you got up to 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, I've kind of gone away from that just because it feels at that point more intimidating. I want someone to get to the page and find out they love it. Whereas if I say, back to 1 through 17, it might scare someone away that might actually take a catch-up tier. And that's my theory on it. But 1 through 5, I think that would be a great thing, especially if, and I hope you have a catch-up tier on the campaign. My old eyes, I can't see on the thing well enough to know, but you do have a catch-up, correct, Michael?
Yeah, it looks like there is a catch-up tier, nicely priced for to get 1 through 4, and 1 through 5. Yeah, and I would that would be another thing, Michael, that I would actually I would probably do is you've got the saga so far, issues 1 through 4, and then you've got physical copies 1 through 5, and there's a $6 difference. I would actually probably get rid of the 1 through 4 pledge, and just and maybe call out the complete saga one that's 1 through 5 as, hey, here's the catch up tier. That's kind of a common parlance in Kickstarter world, catch up tiers and whatnot, and the idea being anyone that's going to back this Kickstarter is going to back, and they wouldn't have not, they probably don't have, or they probably, if their backers are either going to want the new issue or they're going to want all the issues is sort of the approach that a lot of creators tend to take. Sometimes you could also say maybe you want to jump on board with issue 1 as well, if you have that. So it'd be like people that are going to want issue 1, they're going to want the new issue, or they're going to want to catch up everything. So I would, you might want to streamline a little bit that way. The other thing that I'll just give one more little bit of feedback, Michael, on improving your Kickstarter page presence is it looks like you are using images to do all of your copy telling, in that you've uploaded an image for for this, and an image for the creators, and the image for everything. And what this does is this page is largely invisible to the internet. So because the internet's not reading the words that are in these pages, there might be keywords, there might be phrases or things that might come up that would make the Kickstarter algorithm push your project out that Kickstarter is not reading, because it doesn't have all of these words in it, because they're baked into the image. It's also much harder for most people, especially people reading on their phones, to read images that are baked, or to read text, long text that is all capitalized and baked into an image, versus text that is actually uploaded and written right there in the Kickstarter editor. So while I do know that there are some creators that are able to have successful campaigns where they just upload images and tell most of the project in stuff baked into the images, I would strongly recommend instead you take that text and put it in as Kickstarter project text, and break that text up with imagery, similar to how Kevin has done with his. So, he's using the Kickstarter story editor for the text, and all of this text can be read by Kickstarter. It can be, if people are searching for things like demons or whatever, well, that word demon might show up on, or they're searching for words like hell. Well, that word will show up, and Kevin's project might be recommended. And so you're using Kickstarter's text engine and you're typing stuff in, and you're intermixing pages involved there, as opposed to just trying to upload everything as an image. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you're saying use Kickstarter software.
Yeah, just they give you a story editor to tell your story, and you'll see Kevin. Kevin's page is beautiful. He relies on a lot of images. He creates some custom banners, which is a great way. But he is also using Kickstarter, the bullet points and the text editing features that Kickstarter gives you, so that it's an easy read, whether it is on desktop or mobile or smartphones, wherever. It's much more flexible when you use Kickstarter.
Run out to American Boss with Mike.
Yeah,
I
and
gotta get
I
50 out there.
want to say up front for everybody watching, the reason I do all this is because I've been in ComixLaunch Pro, and I learned this from Tyler. So it just happens to be that I met Tyler years ago, and you're meeting him now. So this is not, I wouldn't worry about this, but you can fix it, because honestly, that's why I backed his Kickstarter for the planner, because having that physical thing for myself to listen to and watch is exciting to me, because my brain, goes everywhere when I'm planning a Kickstarter. So a lot of this is, I don't want to take too much credit for doing it, because I'm using Ludovic's beautiful art and Tyler's proven methods. So Kevin doesn't want too much credit for and Brant Fowler did all the beautiful imagery for me. So
yeah, and these these tips come from doing it, and and with repetition. With repetition and reflection, you get better at just about anything. So I definitely see that as possible for you, Michael. Just check, Michael. Do you need to exit? I can't tell if you've got if you're in a situation where you need to bow out. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, just making sure that you're okay to.
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm relocating the camera as I'm listening.
All right. Yep. So, Kevin, are there any particular rewards or things that you're doing this campaign? Or actually, you know what? If you still have it handy, I know you're a fan of really premium books and hardcovers, and the package is part of it. I've got the ability for you to now show off that book a little bit, if you want to show some of the things that you're excited about.
So one of the things that Tart Volume 1 hardcover came to me as just one of those situations where you had to say yes. There was just no other way to do it. Sam Amborn, who runs Print Lore, and her partner at the time basically wanted a way to show off their printing abilities. And I just worked with Sam on Tart Volume 1 softcover, and she basically said, for a very, very low price, I'd love to do this hardcover. We're going to oversize the art. We're going to do all these bells and whistles. And since then, we've done Volume 2, 3, and 4. Everything about it is designed to match that first hardcover the best way we possibly can. Now we have added doohickeys as we've gone, like a nice little bookmark ribbon, because I'm a sucker for stuff like that. But for the first time, in order to try to keep the costs down on the hardcover, I mean, people watching this probably know this, but the more you print offset, the less each book costs you.
Yeah.
We, for the first time, did a split binding. So we technically have a soft cover for $30 and a hardcover for $45. That helped me keep the hardcover from being a $60 book. Because I know I can sell a $45 hardcover. I've done it before. I don't know if I can sell a $60 book. So everything about this was trying to keep our costs to what our readers were used to. And also, that soft cover is, oh, you've just met me. You're not sure you're going to like this book.
Right.
Well, you can get the soft cover for a $15 savings. It still absolutely helps the Kickstarter. It absolutely helps us going forward. but you don't have to invest as much. Now, you love me, you love the book, you love Ludo, you want the hardcover for your bookshelf. But that was what I was excited for. I was finally able to do split binding and get my soft cover with my hardcover so that I could keep costs on both as low as possible. But if you've never heard of me, we have a $5 PDF where you can read the first 3 books. Find out if you love this thing. $25 digital tier. You can read all 16 issues of the story, plus 2 books that Ludo has written and drawn that are in what we call the Toxic Universe.
Yeah.
So it's like 500 pages of digital story, not just digital pages of digital story with these time traveling demon hunting characters. And we just want readers. And because I feel like once you've read them, I can sell you the books.
Yeah. And it's definitely some good just feedback and approach. And I've also, having just done a couple of conventions for the first time in a while, the price points that it was clear to me, whereas in the past, hardcovers felt like in a lot of ways they were the easier sell at conventions. They become, once you get above like the $30 to $40 price point, they do become a much harder sell like in person. I think the Kickstarter market is one that, as it recognizes that you might pay a little bit of premium in order to help like make these things.
Right.
But when you're thinking about down the line sales, having options is one of the things that I think will lead to the most backers there. So that's definitely something that I've seen.
Yeah, and I just wanted to make it easy for people to come in, because I know it's a hard ask to be like, hey, you want these 4 hardcovers? They're $140.
Yeah.
I'm not going to jump on too many campaigns that I don't know much about for $140.
Right.
But, if when Sync comes up, I know that I like Sync. I know that Alex is an amazing artist. I know that, I'm blanking on the name right now. The Scotsman is a great writer, and I could catch up on Sync right now. I don't have to, but I have the history with the thing. So the $140 hardcover catch up, that's for people who've been with me for years and they finally want to have it up on the bookshelf.
Yeah.
But for the new readers, I'm super happy. We even have a thing I like to call the appetizer catch up, where you can get those first 7 issues for, I think it's $28. And the trick is, the first 3 issues, you get to meet Tart. The next 4 issues, we open up the world. By that point, I've, baited the hook. It's in your mouth, and I'm trying to set the hook. This is kind of a selfish, really nice tier, but I'm super happy to get people involved for that appetizer catch-up or even that digital bundle, because, I was thinking about it today. Yeah, Bill Gates wants to come in and put $10,000 on the campaign. That's great. I'd rather have, what would that be, 250 people get the digital tier, because I just want readers. It's not about, Ludo and I a long time ago said, let's build our readership. We'll worry about money after we have readers.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a good approach, and there's a lot of different ways to provide and to stack value when you're in the middle of a launch.
I want to take one second with that image that's on screen. Tart 13, which that comes from, is actually told from 2 different perspectives, which comes into the title. One is Tart telling the story exactly as a comic is usually told, and one is another character telling the legend of what happened. And they actually disagree on what happened. And so what you're looking at is a page from the narrator who might not see Tart as a hero telling the story. And so we really get to play around with a lot of things in this, but I only get to because Ludo will deliver pages like that.
Well, yeah, and I think that's I don't know if it was inspired at all, but one of the things that you did that I really liked outside of the realm of comics is you did a Game of Thrones rewatching podcast for a while, and it makes me think of the Blood and Fire, the George R.R. Martin histories of Westeros, and how with the new Game of Thrones, there's certain things that happen in the book that were like how the textbook historians wrote it up, but with the movie itself, or the TV series itself being what actually happened, and that's always fun. It's fun to see the discrepancies and see.
It all goes in the eyes and ears and comes out the hand and mouth somehow. I don't know. There's Sandman, there's Doctor Who, there's Burn. One time I realized there's a heck of a lot of Burn Notice in it. I was watching a lot of Burn Notice when we started it, and I realized, Tart leads people through this character exactly the way Michael leads you through an episode of Burn Notice. And I didn't even realize that inspiration until a year later when I was rereading Tart.
Yeah. Speaking of inspiration, Michael, what were some of the inspirations for your comic work, and how did you get into deciding that comics was going to be the medium that you wanted to play in?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. I'm also glad I was able to get reconnect there. Well, I first realized I like comics when I rented a copy of Pride of the X-Men from my library. That was the first exposure to the X-Men and Marvel comics in general. More specifically, the inspiration for Legend of Crusaders was the anime Outlaw Star. The idea of a ragtag crew traveling over the galaxy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, so there's a lot of people that will pick up a comic or a book from a library or watch a cool anime, but then only a small percentage of us will ever be like, oh yeah, I can do that. And I'm gonna do that. So how did you go about going from, all right, I read this comics are pretty cool, to I'm gonna learn how to write these things, find artists, build it out, and print out these books? Like, what was that journey like?
Oh, I had sort of my own idea for a while of my own group of mutant superheroes that would exist in the same world as the X-Men. And that kind of went through various permutations. And then I had to start reading other comics. So then around age 13, I got my first exposure to anime. And that's when kind of the wheels started turning in my head, of all these different worlds I could create. And I once heard from my father that Jerry Seinfeld said that he was going to get into comedy, and whether he makes $1 million or whether he makes 50 cents, he's going to be a comedian. And I just came to a similar conclusion about being a comic book writer.
I love it. Yeah.
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 May you be as successful as Seinfeld was.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
May you be as successful as Seinfeld has been.
Let's hope so.
Yeah. And I mean, and Jerry, is one of those people that just has really good habits, like as much success as he had. He's someone that was like, write every day.
Yeah.
Put in the time, put in the effort, put in the study, and keep working at that craft. And I think that's something that all creators, regardless of whether you're telling jokes or doing superhero stuff, can put into practice. So what, Kevin, over the next 10 days, you've got a little bit of a road to climb here. Obviously out there getting out, doing podcasts, hanging out with me today, but as you approach the final 10 days, there are some creators that are like that would be completely panicked. Some creators would be totally zen. How do you sort of approach the gap that you have between where you're at right now and funded heading into the final 10 days?
I'm not zen and I'm not panicked. I'm serious that there's work to be done, and I'm not panicked that we can get there. I do go back and don't correct me if this has changed, but at one point, if you had reached 50% of your goal, 50% of your goal at any time, you were like 98% likely to fund. And we are way past 50%. We're at 70%. So I'm sticking with the confidence level of Kickstarter math is on my side. But that doesn't mean that I get to sit back and wait for Kickstarter math to work for me. So hitting the email list, hitting the socials, reaching out to creators directly to see if they have the ability to share the campaign for like-minded series. I'm not gonna reach out to somebody who does a slice of life manga to talk about Tart. But boy, if they're fighting demons in it, I don't care if it's anime or manga. Hey, we've got this. Hitting the socials, hitting the Facebook ads, and just kind of continuing to answer any question that comes in and be out there while it's on. And if I'm still 5,000 down with 2 days, I won't be zen at all, and we'll figure out what we got to do.
Yeah.
But I'm leaning on the fact of the worst that can happen. The absolute worst thing that can happen is a 30-day free advertisement for Tart.
Yeah. Yeah. And, the conversation I had with a creator on Friday, she was about 24 hours or less to get funded and still had, over nearly 30% to go and was able to do it. So there still is that final surge. I believe Kickstarter Gravity is still in its it still exists, but also there's work to be done. And one of the challenges I think, Michael, is it's great to be out there at the convention circuit and to be able to get your stuff out even if it's not crowdfunded, but then turning those people that support you at conventions into Kickstarter backers can be a little bit of a challenge. I'm curious, have you done work to sort of, what have you been doing to sort of just make sure that your world and readers of the past of the comic know that it's now available for the next issue on Kickstarter?
Well, I've mentioned it several times on both Instagram and Facebook. And I've also mentioned on my website, www.backtozero.net. Use both those means to get the word out.
Yeah. Have you started building an email list yet?
No, I haven't. No.
Yeah. So that's going to be, I'm sure Kevin and I will stress the power and the importance of that email list when you're doing your sort of online stuff. We're still seeing a big chunk of funding that's not coming from Kickstarter directly, with Kickstarter notifying past backers, is actually being driven to us through people that we're connected to from email. And I know email is something that Kevin's been working at for a while and been pretty diligent with.
Yeah.
So that would be something that going forward I would prioritize getting that up and running and off the ground. What's the rest of your year look like, Kevin, in terms of projects and Tart and other things? Assuming this one gets off and hits its goal and exceeds its goal as your others have done. What's the rest of 2025 look like for you, or are you sort of in a, will we still be here in 3 months from now?
Well, let's put it this way. If it doesn't go, then I've got to pay for this printing myself, and I won't be able to be paying for the art on Tart 17 quite as quickly. But I'm confident we're going to get there. And I kind of should have said, like, everything I said about the panic and the Zen, if I was sitting here at $13,500, I'd be hitting it just as hard because that just pays for the books. I do want to pay for the art for the next thing. The first thing, the next two things that will come out, I guarantee the next two things that will come out will either be a crossover with, as you brought up, Will Allred. We have a story that is being illustrated by Tina Valentino in Italy right now, where Tart and Hank and Hector meet up and fight the famed Minotaur of legend. We came up with it over COVID when we couldn't do anything, and Will and I just on a lark wrote a script that we thought was worth sharing. So that will be one thing that's coming out, and the other thing that was coming out is a prose Toxic Universe story called Tales of the Lost Toxics. I can spoil it for somebody. Almost everyone in my book has died and become a toxic fruit in order to fight the demons and the hellspawn. So they don't always survive. So we're going to tell some stories of people that were toxic fruit long before Tart was ever there, and how their journeys ended, and kind of put some markers in there that will pay off in the finale. You had talked about shrinking the story when I kind of looked at what I had. That was one of the things that I did, is instead of doing all of these stories as comics, why don't I write them as short stories? I could get them out a little bit faster, and we wouldn't have to run a Kickstarter campaign for every single story. We would just run it for one thing. So it'll either be the prose Tales of the Lost Toxics or Crossover Division meets Tart. And that will probably depend on if the art is complete on the crossover.
And how was that exercise for you of, you know, when you have someone as talented as Ludo making your words look so good to then be relying on the prose to do it? I know that as comic book writers, sometimes we can luck out by just hey, take a look at this scene from Lord of the Rings and try to capture that, as opposed to trying to describe beautiful, like worlds in compelling detail and things like that. But was that fun for you to?
It's guilty as charged, first of all. But you know what? I think I'm going to find out when I've finished the first draft. I'm writing all of these as just a first draft and getting it all done. And then I'm going to go through and see how terrible the writing actually is. And hopefully it's polishable and it doesn't have to be, start over from scratch. But, that's why I've got, Cassandra Bell to edit me as well. So I've got somebody to lean on in that aspect as well.
Yeah.
I have written much more prose in my life than I've written comics, because I didn't ever think of writing a comic till I was probably 35. And that was 15 years ago, if you want to do the math. Let's say I was ahead of Tyler on the colonoscopy train. So I'm 50 on the dot. So I feel comfortable with it. I enjoy it, but I'm going to find out how much work there is when I go back into edit.
Yeah. I've always found though that it's fun to play. Like when you've created something, it's fun to play with it in different formats, whether that be like taking characters and plugging them as your avatars in video games that you're making, or doing, short prose stories, or just, trying to, and often you will have insights that may feed back into the proper story that come from something that you unlock by spending some time with it in another context. So I'm excited, to see how that comes out for the world of Tart. Looks like we lost Michael. I know he was coming in from remote, and he was driving around and all that other stuff. But we will definitely point folks to the Legend of the Crusader, a project that he's still trying to get some traction on and get his first successful launch under his belt, and hopefully a couple of the tips that we gave him we'll just help him make his campaign a little bit stronger as he has a lot of time left on the clock. And yeah, it's always interesting to check in with creators that are at different aspects of the journey, man. But you know, one thing that I found is the challenge of the problems, they don't go away. They might pivot a little bit, they might change a little bit, they might be at a different level of complexity or just dauntingness, but they never go away. But as long as we keep at it, we'll uncover some new problems.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to make new mistakes. I make new mistakes all the time.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike.
You guys hear me?
Hey, yep. Looks like we got you back. We're just wrapping up here, but any final pitch or final thing that you want to say about the Legend of the Crusaders and why people should check it out over on Kickstarter? Oh,
I think you're on mute, Michael.
Oddly enough,
hello.
Oh, there you go.
Sorry, I went through a tunnel. I can see it here.
All right. Well,
I'm really sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, without getting into a major crash there, Michael. Any final things you want to tease about the Legend of the Crusaders and what people might be getting if they go into that project?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat?
Just final pitch for Legend of Crusaders over on Kickstarter and reasons why people should go over and check it out.
Yeah, like I said, it's called Legend of the Crusaders. It's the funding to get issue 5 out there into the world. We have a reward sheet to get you all caught up if you're brand new to the series, and you might even get a nice T-shirt to boot. So, head to my Kickstarter page, give us a pledge. Awesome. Join the crusade.
Well, we will make sure that we get links to all of these included wherever you're going to watch this or listen to this recording here. Appreciate Kevin and Michael taking the time to stream with me and to talk comics, crowdfunding, and all of that. Thanks everyone else for tuning in, and we can't wait to see what you all launch next. So Kevin, Michael, thanks for hanging out with me this afternoon, and appreciate you being a part of this broadcast.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. Hope to see you next time.
Absolutely.
Same. Appreciate you having me, and appreciate you understanding when one of my computers decided it didn't want to work anymore. So thank you.
They have a mind of their own, I swear. All right. Well, thanks, gentlemen, and thanks to everybody else watching. We can't wait to see what you launch next. Take care, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yep. Thank you.
The Comics Launch Planner is going to give you a roadmap so you can launch confidently, whether this is your first campaign or you've launched a bunch. Hey, I'm George O'Connor. I've kickstarted 10 projects raising over $50,000, and Comics Launch is a big reason for my success. Tyler has studied Kickstarter for over a decade, and he's going to help you avoid pitfalls and give you the best insights to make sure that you and your project shine on the platform. He's also going to help you with the mental aspects so you can stay sharp and positive and professional throughout the entire launch. This planner is going to give you the tips and insights Tyler's created from over the years of studying the platform and helping hundreds of people launch their projects. As someone who's been with Tyler since the beginning of Comics Launch and has absolutely benefited from his insights and trainings, I cannot recommend the Comics Launch Planner enough.
I've been using the tools from Comics Launch since 2020 to run all these successful Kickstarter campaigns. When it comes to running a Kickstarter, I never thought I could do it until I started using Tyler's tools and tips and tricks. He really has this great way of putting everything together and making it so easy to tackle. So something big and challenging like a Kickstarter campaign becomes really easy to do when it's broken down into these steps. My name is Melissa J. Massey, purveyor of fine fantasy comics and tragic shenanigans. I would recommend this to anyone who wants to launch a book or a comic on Kickstarter. It really breaks down the process and helps you to position yourself well so that you can stand out and deliver a fantastic book to your audience. I mean, the results don't lie, and the pile's getting a little hard to hold. So check out the Comics Launch Planner. It's going to be the best investment you make for yourself and for your creative business.
Before Comics Launch, I struggled to raise $3,000 on my first campaign. And since joining Comics Launch, I have raised more than $370,000 across more than 30 campaigns. That's a huge difference. It's quantifiable. Hey everybody, it's Clay Adams. I'm the writer of Blazing Blade of Frankenstein, Dream Quest, co-writer of Carmilla Unbound, Prodigal Son, and co-editor of the Nightmare Theater horror anthology. I wish I had this planner years ago. Tyler, what are you doing? Get on this. Start shipping these things out. Can we just skip the campaign? Let's go.